You know, I think in 1941, the African American community realized then what we know today, but don't really act like we know today, which is education is the way up and the way out. Education opens doors, education expands minds. And clearly, in 1941, the black community in this county decided that their kids were not going to be separate and equal. Their kids were going to be equal, and they would do whatever it took to get them there. That's an amazing thing to happen all those years ago. It was that just raw determination to build that school. What this school also says, because I never hear about the history of Douglas School, and believe me, just a side note, I hear about the history of Douglas School all the time. I'm chair of the county, and some people that don't know me will say, how long have you been here? And I say 25 years. And they say, oh, you new. And I'm like, no, I've been here for 25 years. I'm not new. And they go, did you go to Douglas School? Did you have somebody to go to Douglas School? And I go, no. And they go, you new. I'm like, okay. I don't know how they got living loud to not be new anymore, but I guess maybe my kids are not new. They grew up here, but I'm still new. I'd like for you all to get me out of the new stage at some point, if you can help me with that. But you never hear about Douglas School without hearing about the teachers of Douglas School. Ever. No one ever talks about the school without hearing about the teachers of Douglas School. What you all know, and what we know now, is the teachers cannot support the kids if the community does not support the teachers. Douglas School supported its teachers, which then supported its kids. It's a pretty amazing thing to have happened in 1941. And I think if you talk to people like Dr. Williams, it's something we like to see today, a larger support of our teachers. Also, what was happening in 1941 was the importance of community, the village, if you will. Somewhere along the way, we have lost the village. I grew up in Colorado, and I can tell you that I have a huge family. I have 27 first cousins. And no one ever called me by my first name my entire time growing up. I was just Deacon Henderson's granddaughter, Billie Jean's daughter. That's all I was, right? Because that's how the community knew us. Deacon Henderson, if I was out doing something wrong, it was, ain't you Deacon Henderson's granddaughter? Ain't you Billie Jean's daughter? I'm gonna call your grandma. I'm gonna call your grandma. And then they would.
They would.
And then they actually would, you know? Because I remember when I said, call her. But she did. And before I got to grandma's house, no, because I went to grandma's house because we all had to go to grandma's house before. It was the Inquisition place, right?
Oh, yeah.
So before I got to grandma's house, somebody had called 333-5554, which is my grandma's phone number, and told on me. And I got home, and grandma was there, and grandpa was coming in from work, which I messed up something big. And Uncle Bobby was coming over, and I was like, really? The whole family got to be here for this? That was what community was. Today we have this, we don't get in each other's business. Kids have doors on the locks of their rooms. What is that? My mother, we didn't have locks, and if I thought I was good, she'd have taken the door off the hinges. She would have taken the door off the hinges. In 1941, and back then, we had community. We had what is called the village. It does take a village to raise a child. And in 1941, it took the village that was called Douglas to raise up Miss Randolph and Mr. Simmons and the Dotsons and all these people. And because that village was raised up, you raised up the next village of the Wendell Fishers and the Carla Andersons. That village was raised up. And when that village was raised up, you then raised up me. You raised up me. That's how I got here. I didn't get here on my own. I got here because somebody was in your village, and then you put that to somebody else's village, and then you put that here. And you know what? I give that to my kids. To my kids. My son the other day, a couple months ago, came home and was surprised because my son goes to North Carolina A&T. And he said to me when he got home, you know, None of the kids in North Carolina A&T know Lift Every Voice and Sing. He was shocked by that. He was shocked by that. Because Lift Every Voice and Sing, and I cannot sing, but I sang it to them all the time because it was that important to me. That's what a village does. So now I'm going to ask Douglas alumni, and I'm speaking directly to Douglas alumni. I'm going to make the ask. I know you might think that no one's listening to you anymore. I know you might think that all the things you've done and all the experiences you had and the pain and suffering and toil you went through to put this school up is something people don't want to know about anymore. With all due respect, you are incorrect. You are incorrect. My ask is that you don't stop talking. You don't stop talking. You don't stop telling. You know, like I know, because I have a teenage son, that you'll talk to them and they won't look like they're listening. That's their job. Right? To not look like they're listening. That is their job. And then it's my job to say, get back down here. Look at me in my face. Did you just say yeah to me? Yes, ma'am. And then he goes, yes, ma'am. Right? That's their job. But you still have a job until God takes you to glory. You still have a job. And your job, with all due respect, and if you don't mind me asking, is to keep talking. I know they think they know everything because they can pull out their phones and Google it. I get that. I get that. But Google gives you facts. Google doesn't give you depth. Google doesn't give you experience. Google doesn't give you width. Google gives you facts. Google doesn't make you look at somebody who has a few good lines on their face and tell them what it was really like when they closed the pool down, rather than let you all integrate it. Google doesn't give you that. Google doesn't tell you what it's like when the school system says, sell this property back to us for $1. Google doesn't give you that. Google doesn't tell you that this property at one time was not that important. They would have just closed it down. Google doesn't give you that. You all give us that. And then we give them that. And they give their kids that. So my ask for you, Douglas alumni, is to keep talking. Because if you don't, when the last one of you is called to glory, all that this was, and all that your teachers did, and all that everybody who worked so hard to build this did, all this becomes is the Loudoun Alternative School. That's what this becomes. It doesn't become this amazing, amazing, historic place by which lives were changed, and those lives change lives. That's what my ask of you is today. If you can do that and make people stop calling me new, I'd appreciate both those things. Thank you very much for letting me talk to you today.